Shalom Aleichem. I wanted to read a few lines from my book Emunah in Physics and to share some very interesting insights from some friends of mine. And there's the concept Istakel B'Rais V'Bora Alma, that Hashem looked into the Torah and created the world, and that many things in the physical world are manifestations and projections of the spiritual. One example I write here: thus we have a revealed macroscopic part of nature and a hidden microscopic part of nature. Similarly, the essence of reality itself has two layers: a macroscopic layer within which we can functionally operate, that is nature or physicality, and a microscopic layer, the internal spiritual reality. This layer has much in common with the microscopic world. The human mind cannot fully grasp it, and anyone who interacts with the world in a shallow way would easily overlook it. Today, too, Torah too is characterized by layers: a macroscopic layer, pshatim, the surface layer understanding, and halacha, Jewish law, and an underlying layer of mystical fundamental realities. At the root of these realities is a fundamental dichotomy, and there I discuss the Shem Elokim and the Shem Havaya. And one interesting parallel comes regarding the Mishkan, and this is something where the Medrash in Bamidbar says quite explicitly that the Mishkan is a microcosm of the universe. And I understand it's a microcosm of a person and also the universe. And the question is like, what are the things about the Mishkan that correspond to the universe? And just to give you a sense of the sources of this, why we have such a concept, it's interesting. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs goes through the parallels between the text of the creation of the universe in Bereshis, and then the text of the building of the Mishkan in Bamidbar, and it's a tremendous number of parallels, which perhaps is part of how the Chazal knew in the Medrash to explain it. And so, one of those parallels, one individual told me recently, is that the Mishkan has very specific measurements. You know, everything, the size of it and the size of the ark, everything has very specific measurements. And similarly, the universe itself is finely tuned. There's a wonderful book, The Cosmic Puzzle by Harold Gans, and he goes through all the different fine-tuning parameters. That's the reason in my book I didn't even go in such depth into it, just because he does such a good job there. I recommend it. And there's a tremendous number of very finely tuned parameters, and it's something deeply unexpected for those who believe in a natural world. They wouldn't have expected such a thing. And for the Jew, it's not so surprising. You know, we say in the name of Rabbi Nachman, or a follower of his, that the Kol Ha'olam Kulo Gesher Tzar Moed, that the whole world in its entirety is a very narrow bridge. And in Likutei Haran, in Memches, he says, Ma'od Ma'od, it's Tzar Ma'od Ma'od. And so we see that just like the parameters are very specific by the Mishkan, so too by the universe. And the most interesting insight, I hope you've made it to 3.5 minutes, is that within the Mishkan itself, you'll notice that there's something that takes up no space, right? They say the ark. Chazal say that the ark in the first Beis Hamikdash, it didn't take up any space, meaning you would walk around and you would see the ark, but if you measured the dimensions, it would never be there, so to say. And so what that means is that the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the Teva were really one. Meaning, if something has no place of its own relative to the other place, if it has no makom of its own, so really it's one. There's not that they're in two separate places. Rather, it's a yichud between the Teva and the Kodesh HaKadosh. And in the early universe, we also had the whole universe existed in a single state. We have a physical parallel for this phenomenon. And similarly, Bose-Einstein condensates, all the particles enter into one state and take up the same space. And bosons also, in general, experience an exchange force, and they want to overlap simply because of their intrinsic properties. And now where this gets interesting is that what would happen when the avoda was going on Yom Kippur? So the Kohen would come into the Beis Hamikdash and he'd do his avoda bein habadim, meaning between the poles of the teva. And my friend Mickey Lebovich mentioned that this concept of yichud. And he also says here that what happens, it's the Kohen comes in to the place where there's this yichud, and he becomes one with it. He's going between these two badim. Well, they took up no space, so also if he's in between them, so too he takes up no space, and it's a complete yichud. And I was thinking here that we say that I believe the Zohar says that the Torah, the Jewish people, and Hashem are one, Chadhu, and it's very interesting. Perhaps this is one of the makoros of the Zohar that you think about what's happening. So what does the ark represent? So inside of the ark is the Torah Shebichsav, and the kaporas on top of the ark, those represent the Torah Sheba'al Peh. Right, the kruvim are facing one another, peh el peh, and so the teva represents the Torah. And what is the Kodesh HaKadoshim? It's the dwelling place of the Shekhinah. It's the place where Hashem rests. So Hashem there is one with the Torah. And then comes the Kohen, comes Yisrael. So Yisrael, Kudshabrichu, and Torah Chadhu. And so we see that out from there. And what does this mean for the universe? Where in the universe do we see such a phenomenon? Besides for the concept of something taking up no space or things overlapping, but another place is that you think about what's happening. You go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you go into the innermost chamber, and there Chadhu, there everything is just one. So when you go into the depth of any matter, any particles, any objects, so you get to the particles, and when you get to the particles, we see all of these properties of oneness in the quantum mechanics that I spoke about on Dr. Joseph Wolf's podcast in the recent YouTube video here, and you can see in the book that these particles are so identical in nature that physical properties are different because they are really one. All the electrons in the universe are really one, and this sort of oneness that you see, quantum entanglement, this oneness that you see on a quantum level, that's when you go into the innermost chamber, into the inside of all of the physical world. And secondly, you could say that the universe, I would say the physical world really would be like the outside, and the inside is the physics. Meaning we have all of these. There's a table and a book and a chair, and all of these things are the externality. And when you go into the inner chamber, that's the physics underlying it. It's the physical laws in the fundamental particles that make up this physical world, and so. Physics itself is where you expect to find this oneness, and indeed, in the last 100 years, modern physics has blown away the world, and shown that there is a tremendous amount of oneness. And physics is the one place where when you get down to it, you really see this oneness. And the whole concept of physics really that certain laws underlie all of reality. The Newton's laws and relativity and all of these different elements. And in relativity, the fact that no matter what direction you're moving, the speed of light is the same. It's a little bit like this teva taking up no space, right? Whatever part of it you go, whatever direction, it doesn't change. Even though, according to like physical common sense, you would think that it would change, and according to the physics, it doesn't. And the speed is always one, and that's another place where we see oneness and the oneness of Hashem. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and if you have a snow day today, stay warm, stay safe, take care.